What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. As this is episode 996, I'm sure a lot of you that are watching this are wondering, I thought you canceled the show. Well, I actually had to backpedal a little bit, and I'm going to take some heat for this because you can't change emotions, a split-second decision. Sometimes things happen, and you make decisions based on, I'm just quitting. But, I love sports too much to quit. And so I backpedaled a little bit, deleted my posts on social media. A couple of weeks have passed. I've kind of hinted, it's not going to be canceled. It's going to be on hiatus. I needed to find, my niche to try to regroup and retool this show. I do want to say I'm still going to be just as involved as I am with Georgia Alabama Sports Live and Sports Visions. This is something that I'm choosing to do on the side. That has nothing to do with Georgia Alabama Sports Live or Sports Visions. This is something just because I love talking sports. I want to get better as a broadcaster. And so I'm going to probably have a show maybe once a week talking about sports, maybe twice a week. Who knows? But I probably won't have guests on. I think that the guest list, some of the guests that I've had, might not have made sense in the past, but it's going to be a show where I run down everything that's happened in the world of sports, and it's unscripted. Now, if you've been following me on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, I've had a couple of audio-only podcasts, in which from time to time I'll probably continue doing. But as I abruptly ended the show at episode 992, and I said, well, after 5 years and 992 episodes, I am ending the show. Well, I took down that post. Hopefully people have forgot about that. That was not a very good day for me. There was just a lot going on. But I love sports too much to just give up and to end this show. I put a lot of hard work and effort in the last 5.5 years of doing this show. And the 1,000th episode is just a number. Look, I'm a big milestone guy. I actually was listening to previous shows where, when I hit my 900th episode, my 800th episode, I talked about the journey to get there. And it is a journey. But I look back and all the experience that I've gotten of being a podcaster and doing the show. This show has evolved. It started out as an audio-only podcast about 20 minutes long. And this show also was on a radio station, and I put together an hour-long show in a time slot from 2 to 3 on WQEE from Monday through Friday. And that was going on for 3 years. So as this show evolves, notice I don't even have my polo shirt that says the Sports Beat. I don't know if I'm going to even call it the Sports Beat, but I do want to get into the sports. Happy Juneteenth to everybody. A lot of sports to get into. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. First big topic of discussion is a national sports story. The Los Angeles Lakers sold for $10 billion to the Dodgers owner. And that Buss family has owned the Lakers since 1979. Dr. Buss, he brought the Showtime Lakers to the Forum. Magic Johnson, Kareem, James Worthy. The Showtime Lakers were box office. It really what helped save the NBA in the 80s, along with the Boston Celtics. And quite frankly, I have never been a Lakers fan. You look at what they did to my Kings in the 2002 Western Conference Finals. And also, I'm a Warriors fan, and they have not been kind to the Warriors as well, even though the Warriors have won 4 titles. But the Los Angeles Lakers, you have to respect the brand, and you can't have NBA basketball without the Lakers. Unfortunately, when Dr. Buss tragically passed away in 2013, he handed over the ownership and, of the day-to-day operations to his son, Jim Buss. And Jeannie Buss was also one of the owners, and she's got a championship. Now, it was in 2020, and getting LeBron and AD, they've made some good moves. Getting Luka, I wasn't a fan of the Russell Westbrook trade, But, sometimes things don't work out. And, Rob Pelinka has proven me wrong. He started out as an agent, and then he became a general manager. I'm not saying that the Lakers have made all the right moves, but if you look at the history of basketball, with the Celtics having 18 titles, the Lakers having 17 titles, the Los Angeles Lakers have done it right, especially with the Showtime Lakers. The Lake Show in the 90s, that really wasn't drawing like them to being a championship contender. Even when they had Shaq and Kobe in the late 90s, they had to get Phil Jackson so they can get 3 more titles. And then Kobe won 2 titles without Shaq. Very impressive. LeBron comes to the Lakers in 2018. I'm telling you, this team, I know the West is stacked, but the Los Angeles Lakers are going to be fine, and they're going to compete as long as they have Luka. I don't know how many years LeBron plays, maybe 1 or 2 more years, but this is Luka's team now. And the Los Angeles Lakers are in a good ownership group because it's the same owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and you've seen what the Dodgers have done in the past couple of years, winning a couple of World Series titles. So that was the big sports story nationally. Now let's talk about the NBA Finals. So Thursday night, tonight, we've got Game 6 back in Indianapolis. The Oklahoma City Thunder up 3-2. And quite frankly, even though Tyrese Halliburton is going to give it a go, he's not 100%. If he was 100%, I would slightly lean toward Indiana to win this series and force a Game 7. But I think that Oklahoma City gets it done tonight. I just think that's too tall of a mountain for the Indiana Pacers to have Tyrese Halliburton maybe 60%, 70%. But this is the time for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, Lou Dort, Isaiah Hardenstein. They have got a great young nucleus that's all going to be back next year. And say what you want, they won 68 games in the regular season. They've proven why they deserve to win the championship. And it's going to be the first championship for Oklahoma City in franchise history since they moved to OKC in 2008 from Seattle. But if you're the casual NBA fan, you got to be excited about this because they have been an exciting team and they've been focused on defense. And this has been a series that I've wanted to see it go to 7 games, but I think that OKC closes it out. We had a Stanley Cup final that closed out the other night. The Florida Panthers get it done over the Edmonton Oilers to win back-to-back Stanley Cup championships. And now are the Florida Panthers, the new dynasty in the NHL. This is the 3rd Stanley Cup that they have reached, and now they have back-to-back, and they have great players. And I know that the landscape of the NHL, it's kind of interesting because in the past you've had dynasties before like Edmonton in the 80s, in the New York Islanders, the Red Wings in the 90s, the Blackhawks in the early 2010s. But now this is the Florida Panthers' time. And how about the city of Miami and the championships they have brought in the last 30 years? You look at the Miami Marlins with the 2 World Series titles. You look at the Miami Heat with 3 titles in 06, in 12, and 13. And I kind of feel bad for the Miami Dolphins that they have not won a Super Bowl since the 1970s. But with that being said, they're going to have a big party down in South Beach. The Florida Panthers are your Stanley Cup champions. All right. I can't do a show and not talk about Caitlin Clark. Look, it's the summer months. We do have some sports going on, but every single game that Caitlin Clark is going to be a part of is not only going to be nationally televised, we're going to talk about it the next day on Sports Talk Radio because it seems like the narrative is that there are players in the league that want to get physical with her. They want to injure her. That's not the case. You just can't stop her. This is what the Detroit Pistons and the Celtics and the Knicks tried to do to Jordan. We're witnessing probably the most dynamic WNBA player that we have ever seen. Is she going to go down as the all-time great? I don't know. I don't even think she's the best player in the WNBA right now. I still think that Nafesia Collier from the Minnesota Lynx or Asia Wilson from the Las Vegas Aces. And, Paige Beckers is having a phenomenal year for the Dallas Wings. But still, we have never seen anything like this. Caitlin Clark shooting logo threes, and she actually plays a little chippy. She trash talks. I think it's great for the league. But it seems like every time Caitlin Clark gets poked in the eye or has a hard foul, that we want to come all glued. It's like, oh, I can't believe they're going after Caitlin Clark. You know why the Indiana Fever brought Sophie Cunningham to the team? They needed an enforcer. I learned this from Colin Cowherd that she was a black belt since the age of 6. She will pick a fight with anybody that messes with Caitlin Clark. I can't wait. They take on the Golden State Valkyries on Prime Video. I'll probably watch a replay of it. That's too late for me to stay up 10 o'clock at night. I don't know about that. And then they take on the Las Vegas Aces. They got games on NBA TV, Ion Network, ABC, Prime Video. Every single game is going to be televised, and people want to see Caitlin Clark play basketball. And I'm going to take it a step further because now they're going to be in the Commissioner's Cup final. I think that the Indiana Fever make it to the WNBA finals. Now, I don't know if they're going to win, but right now they are playing the best basketball since Caitlin Clark got back. They defeated the New York Liberty, who lost their first game of the WNBA season, and they defeated the Connecticut Sun. I think the Indiana Fever make it to the WNBA final, which would break records beyond all belief as far as the WNBA. And you just got to embrace this. Enjoy the moment because superstars like this don't come that often. We saw Tiger Woods in the early 2000s. Jordan, obviously, LeBron, Gretzky in hockey. I mean, this is really what it's all about. And I'm pulling for Caitlin Clark. I'm starting to become a huge fan. And I got 2 daughters. And if I ask them, do they know Caitlin Clark? They barely know her because, she is talked about around school. But I just want to get my daughters excited about a female athlete, somebody that they can look to like I looked to Michael Jordan when I was a kid. So let's go ahead and change subjects. Let's talk College World Series. We got a College World Series final, LSU and Coastal Carolina. Now, LSU last won a College World Series title in 2023. They're trying to win their 8th College World Series title. Meanwhile, Coastal Carolina trying to win their 2nd. You talk about a mid-major with multiple College World Series titles. They're in the likes of Cal State Fullerton. But Coastal Carolina, they have not won one since 2016. Does the SEC continue the streak of College World Series titles, or does Coastal Carolina, the hottest team in college baseball, get the job done? I cannot wait to see this best of 3 series between LSU and Coastal Carolina. All right, let's take our first break. And when we come back, I'm going to break down some of the local sports to the Chattahoochee Valley. We're back. It's the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. Condensed show on this Juneteenth. Got the Columbus Riverwalk in the backdrop. And I am back and better than ever. And I cannot wait to talk Columbus sports after this.
Let's see. If something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes Very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 866-89-BIBLE. That's 866-89-BIBLE. 866-89-BIBLE.
Welcome back here to the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. How is everybody doing? I'm excited because I know I've taken a couple of weeks off to actually do the show live on Facebook and on YouTube. I will try to do this maybe once or twice a week when we get closer to football season. I might just still have once or twice a week because I'm doing extra shows on Georgia Alabama Sports Live and Sports Visions. And that's the ultimate goal. I'm truly blessed. I got to where I needed to be as a broadcaster. I love sports so much. I like talking about it. I like giving you my opinion. And I know that I do the exact same thing on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, but this just gives me practice. This gets me to be a better broadcaster. And I know that I said that I gave up on this show, but I couldn't. I missed it too much. So let's get back to the sports. Because this is a podcast dedicated to covering local sports in the Fountain City, let's talk Columbus Cleanstones. Dropped a heartbreaker to the Birmingham Barons up at Regions Field in Birmingham, Alabama, by a score of 3-2. So far they have dropped the first two games of the series, and they will be back at it. And that's going to be 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central. Blake Burkhalter is going to take the mound for the Cleanstones. Remember, they are going to be back at Synovus Park next Tuesday against the Biloxi Shuckers. So I'm looking forward to that. A lot of stuff going on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, including Summer League over at Columbus State, as we have got the girls basketball teams in action. Last week, we had more Summer League games. The Swoosh League happened this week and a couple of weeks ago. And I was in town for a couple of days, and then I had to do a turn and burn and head back to Fort Stewart because of military duty. But I will be back in town next week, and I'm looking forward to that Muskogee County 7-on-7 tournament for high school football. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We actually do have the District 8 Little League Championship that is going to be playing today at Northern Little League, and it's Harris County and Northern Little League once again. It seems like this is the championship every year, and it seems like every year then not only win District 8, but they win the Georgia championship, and they represent Georgia in the Southeast Regional Tournament. And in 2021, we had Northern that was 2 wins away from going to the Little League World Series. 2022, Harris County was 2 wins away from going to the Little League World Series. 2023, Harris County 2 wins away from going to the Little League World Series. And 2024, Northern won the District 8 championship, but they fell in the Georgia championship. In fact, Oconee Little League had a team that actually represented Georgia. Kirby Smart's son played on that team. Now, but this is a great tournament. A couple of years ago, District 8 actually gave me permission to live stream this tournament on the Sports Beats Facebook page. And I'll probably have maybe a discussion that possibly Georgia Alabama Sports Live could live stream this next year, but it's got to be worth our while. They do pay a fee. We would have to get sponsors, and I would definitely be interested in live streaming this. I just unfortunately could not do it this year or last year because of work obligations. The last couple of years I've been gone for mostly a month. I want to switch it back over to Atlanta Braves baseball. They ended up getting 2 wins over the New York Mets, 5-0. In fact, Chris Sale pitched a gem. Ronald Acuna Jr. hit his 8th home run of the season. And this is what you want to see in the Braves is, to win these series. They took 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee, 2 out of 3 against Colorado. And winning the first 2 games, they're going to win this series against the New York Mets. You want to see them have a good series against Miami and then a good series going back up to Citi Field to take on the Mets on the road. And that's really all you want to see. You don't want to see, the Braves go back to their old ways and blow huge leads and, the bullpen is in shambles. You want to see them win series. They don't have to necessarily rattle off 20 wins like the A's did in 2002, but you want to see improvement. And the Atlanta Braves, if they continue this, winning the series is, and, 12 can end up turning into single digits. They can maybe compete for the wild card, and possibly they can get back into this thing. All right, we're going to take another break. And we come back, I got a special NFL preview show. I'm going to talk about this upcoming NFL season and what I think is going to happen just based off of the schedule. And you're in for a treat because I'm going to give you my Super Bowl pick. You don't want to go anywhere. It's a Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. Back and better than ever right after this.
All around the world, tech companies are innovating and driving returns for investors. Our Crowd analyzes companies across the global private market, selecting those with the greatest growth potential, and then brings them to you. From personalized medicine to robotics to cybersecurity, where companies spend $150 billion annually, Our Crowd is identifying innovators so you can invest when growth potential is greatest, early. Now you can invest in Sotero, which has developed a patented new approach to data protection that eliminates the gaps of traditional methods, securing any data asset, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud. Sotero is trusted by one of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies. Explore Sotero's potential at OURCROWD.com/Prager. Join the fastest growing venture capital investment community for free at OurCrowd.com/Prager.
Welcome back to the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. It is time for my NFL preview show. We got the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Can they go back-to-back? I mean, usually, unless you're the Kansas City Chiefs that tried to three-peat, I think that the Eagles with the tough schedule, they could take a step back, but who's going to challenge them in the NFC? The Lions have taken a step back because losing Ben Johnson to the Bears, he's now the head coach. I just don't think that Green Bay losing Jair Alexander is going to be as good as they've been before. The Washington Commanders, maybe Jaden Daniels was a one-hit wonder. Does he have a sophomore slump? I do like the move of getting Deebo Samuel, but there is just so much to get into when it comes to the National Football League. And I'm going to come out and make a bold prediction. I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs get back to the Super Bowl. I think that the Chiefs have a brutal schedule. You look at all those games that they won in one-possession games. The Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos are better teams. So they have an improved division. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs are still going to make the playoffs. Look, I'm not going to ever write off Patrick Mahomes. But we saw what happened without an offensive line in that Super Bowl. That Eagles defense completely humiliated him. And I just don't think that they did a good job improving the offensive line. And the Kansas City Chiefs, yeah, they're getting Rashid Rice back. That's a huge pickup. Travis Kelce's getting up there in age. I don't know how much longer Travis Kelce has. But he's not going to be a productive tight end in the regular season. Look, you can never count out the Chiefs in the postseason, but the Ravens just got better with Jair Alexander. Buffalo is still going to be there in the mix. The Bengals are going to be better because Joe Burrow, he has all his weapons, although I think their defense suffers a little bit. Harbaugh with the Chargers, year 2, you give Jim Harbaugh time to continue to develop his team. I think the Chargers might be a team in the mix. The Houston Texans with C.J. Stroud. Now you got Cam Ward in Tennessee. That's a winnable division. So let's go and dive right into the teams that I think are going to be the top teams in the NFL, starting with the number 1 team, obviously the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. They are the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl. Look, I think they beat the Cowboys in week 1. That rematch with Kansas City, I think they beat them in week 2. I think the Rams, that's going to be a team to look out for because the Rams were a play away from upsetting the Eagles in the snow in the divisional round. I think the Buccaneers, they play the Buccaneers in week 4. I think they're an improvement, especially with Baker Mayfield getting another weapon. And you got the Denver Broncos, who are going to be an improvement with Bo Nix in his second year. And I think the Giants are going to be a team that Jackson Dart, if he sticks, if he is the quarterback that we think he could be, look out for the Giants. But I think that Saquon Barkley I don't think he's going to get the numbers that he had with Philly, but I think that his numbers drop just a little bit. But I still think that the Eagles are the favorites to go back-to-back. And we haven't had a back-to-back Super Bowl NFC championship. The last time was, I cannot remember. The last time that an NFC team went back-to-back, I do believe that was the Dallas Cowboys in 93 and 94. It has been a long time since an NFC team has gone back-to-back. And I know the Seahawks almost went back-to-back in 13 and 14, but, if you run the ball with Marshawn Lynch, maybe we're talking about the Seattle Seahawks being the dynasty of the 2010s. So the Eagles are my number one team. Number two is the Baltimore Ravens. I think that the Ravens have made the right moves, especially with Lamar Jackson. You got Derrick Henry. You still got a great defense, and now you've added Jair Alexander. I think the Ravens leapfrog the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC. And I think Buffalo, you still have Josh Allen, and you've got a great team there that is in a division where they're going to run away with that division. And I think that Kansas City falls to number 4. So you're going to have strong AFC teams. It's the Eagles, and then who else is going to challenge the Eagles in the NFC? Well, I think that the Rams might be that team. So I got them at number 5. I think it's going to be the Eagles and Rams in the NFC Championship. At number 6, I've got the Cincinnati Bengals. I think that Joe Burrow has something to prove. I think they get the deal done with Hendrickson. I think that the defense is going to be okay, and Joe Burrow is going to try to get the Bengals back to the postseason. Number 8, I got the Green Bay Packers. They are not too far off. And then you're probably asking, well, why do you have the Packers above the Lions? Well, quite frankly, I think the Lions drop off significantly. I still think they're a playoff team. I do have the Lions at number 8. At number 9, I got the Washington Commanders because I do think the Commanders are still going to be a good team. And then at number 10, I'm trying to see if I could throw in, I'll say the Texans. The Texans at number 10 with C.J. Stroud. I mean, there's some teams on the outskirts that could make the playoffs, like the Dolphins, like the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks have improved a little bit. And I know as a 49ers fan, you're asking, well, what are you going to do with the 49ers? Well, I think that the 49ers are going to be average, maybe 8-9, 9-8. But, you pay Brock Purdy all that money. I think that losing players like Dre Greenlaw and Taluna Hufana and Deebo Samuel, you've got to rely on a healthy Christian McCaffrey, healthy Brandon Ayuk, and a healthy George Kittle for them to actually be competitive and win games. Even though they got an easy schedule, they could easily win 12, 13 games. But everybody's got to stay healthy. And as for the local team, the Atlanta Falcons, I'm a believer in Michael Penix Jr. I think that this is a year it's put up or shut up time for Kyle Pitts. If Kyle Pitts has the production that he was projected to have when the Falcons drafted him in the top 5, that maybe he gets an extension and he becomes the go-to target for Michael Penix. They do have the weapons, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier. They have Drake London, Darnell Mooney. And I think that the defense, even though they lost Grady Jarrett to the Bears, I think that the defense with Jalen Walker and James Pierce has improved, but it's still a young defense. So I cannot wait for the NFL season. It'll be here before you know it. We got training camp next month, preseason games in August, and then the season will kick off on September the 4th, Thursday night, between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. Well, that's all the time I have here in the show. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Facebook page. I'm also found on YouTube, and you can download this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.